As we remain standing, we're going to start with the two anthems, the national anthem followed by the East African anthem, the Kenyan anthem. As we remain standing, Your Excellency, allow me to call on Damaris Otieno, who will lead us in a short prayer before we proceed with the rest of the program. Welcome, Damaris.
Let us pray.
Welcome, Damaris.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we honor your name this afternoon for gathering all of us here on this important occasion of the official launch of Shirika Plan. We thank you for your amazing power, goodness, and blessings upon our lives. Heavenly Father, as we begin this meeting today, we bring your presence with us. We speak your grace, peace, your mercy, and your perfect order upon all of us. We acknowledge your power over all that will be spoken, thought, decided, and done within these walls. Guide our conversations and help us make decisions that benefit all the people that will be impacted by this plan. May we leave this meeting with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to carry our tasks with diligence and integrity. May our efforts be blessed, and may we continue to work together towards our shared goals. We ask you, Lord, to bless our land, bless our nation, and bless our people. We ask you this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
May we kindly take our seats. Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, Professor Kithure Kindiki, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, Cabinet Secretary, Interior and National Administration, Cabinet Secretaries present, Your Excellency Mark Dillard, the Chargé d'Affaires and Chair of the Refugee Donor Group, Your Excellency Filippo Grande, UN High Commissioner for Refugees, and the Attorney General, Your Excellency, Ambassadors present, Governor Garissa Nadif Jama, Governor Turkana Jeremiah Lamokurai, Principal Secretaries present, Members of Parliament, all senior government representatives present, distinguished guests. Your Excellency, with your permission, just to set the pace, allow us to play a short video, a 2-minute video, that gives us an idea of the Shirika Plan for refugees and host communities. The video, please.
I came with nothing because we are running.
There is increased conflict in the neighboring countries, and there is a huge influx of refugees coming to Kenya. Right now, the number has increased to over 800,000. So we need to really get a candid engagement on this.
It's important for refugee and host community to be supported so that they stand on their own.
As well as restoration of environment. As a country, have come up with Shirika plan. Shirika plan is a Kenya government proposal, which is on the table to see how best can these refugees be integrated and what can be done to make sure that their contribution to the country is quantified.
Shirika plan is our plan. We developed it and we did it intentionally. And we did it because we have been host to refugees for many years. And therefore, it became absolutely necessary for us to say, look, I mean, these people have been here with us. It's time we recognized that they are going nowhere, and therefore, it is as well that we treat them as citizens. You know, whether it is school, whether it's the ability for them to do business, whether the ability for them to work.
Government cannot do this alone. We need everybody on board. Private sector, international organizations, as well as the refugee themselves and the populations. Let us come together and make the transformation happen.
Shirika plan is our plan. We developed it.
Yes, we can clap for them. And with that, Your Excellency, allow me to now invite the Chargé d'Affaires, Chair of the Refugee Donor Group, Embassy of the United States, His Excellency Mark Dillard, to make his remarks. Can give him a clap as he's coming. Welcome, sir.
His Excellency, the President, William Ruto, senior government officials of Kenya, governors, ambassadors, Mr. Filippo Grandi, UN High Commissioner for Refugees, ambassadors, development partners, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. Let me start by saying good morning. Good morning, everyone. If I may start, I want to recognize Kenya's generosity as a host to over 830,000 refugees from around the world. Kenya is and has provided a safe haven to the most vulnerable for over 3 decades. Kenya really has played this role as an island of stability in a conflict-afflicted region. Today we extend our congratulations to the government of Kenya for the launch of the Shirika plan. This launch marks a significant milestone for advancing the socioeconomic conditions and the human rights of refugees in Kenya. The launch also makes Kenya a pioneer in refugee management, demonstrating the government's continued leadership and commitment to addressing the challenges faced by displaced populations and host communities. Because Shirika creates a critical framework for supporting refugees in new ways and in ways that are more sustainable. While the Shirika plan is an important development, there is also some crucial work that remains to ensure the plan's success. We will continue to work on concrete activities to be outlined. Budget estimates will need to be developed, and timing for implementation will need to be sketched out in more detail. The first pillar of the Shirika plan is rightly focused on enabling legal and policy reforms, things that we see as key to realizing the plan's objectives. including things such as recognition of refugee IDs for access to SIM cards and M-Pesa, reforms allowing refugees access to banking and the right for refugees to register their businesses and their business property. As we encourage these further steps, we also look to things like allowing freedom of movement for integrated refugees and increasing access to work permits, which will be important in this process of facilitating refugee self-reliance. I think, as everyone in this gathering knows, the funding landscape is shifting globally, with fewer resources available for humanitarian response. The Shirika Plan and its ambition for promoting more development-oriented approaches and increasing self-reliance for refugees and host communities is therefore all the more important and all the more path-breaking. As we work to fully realize the ambition of the Shirika Plan, we also look for its durability. It'll be important to pursue close coordination among all partners to reduce duplication, to reduce inefficient use of funds, and to ensure the transparency of the budgeting process, including by highlighting the many resources that have already been invested in promoting integration and self-reliance in the refugee hosting areas. Let me say that we are committed to working with the government and all of the relevant stakeholders to make this a reality. We see a collaborative, multi-stakeholder approach as ensuring that the initiatives within the plan are effective and responsive. They meet the needs of both the refugees and, as we just saw in the video, the host population communities. In closing, the Refugee Donor Group wishes to assure the Government of Kenya of our commitment to working as partners to realize the full potential of this plan. Our collective efforts will help ensure that the plan delivers lasting results, both for refugees and the host communities, leading to durable solutions. We look forward to this continued work, including in today's Refugee Donor Group, and on working on that implementation of the plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. With your permission, Your Excellency, I would now like to call on the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior and National Administration, Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, who will also now take over the program. Let's welcome him with a warm clap. Karibu Waziri.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Your Excellency, the Deputy President, my colleagues, the CSS who are here, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Mr. Filippo Grandi, Your Excellencies, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I will take a very short time to give an opportunity to 2 or 3 people to make a few comments before we can officially invite His Excellency the President to lead us towards the official launch of this very important plan. To represent the local community and the host counties, I'd like to invite the 2 governors, starting with the Governor of Turkana, Honorable Jeremiah Lomorkai, to make a few remarks. Please, let's clap for the Governor.
Okay, thank you, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Deputy President, all the dignitaries present. I want Your Excellency to take this opportunity first to thank you because of this very noble Shirika Plan activity that we are launching today. Number 2, I think Turkana County hosts over 299,000 refugees. And we are very critical and central when it comes to issues of Shirika Plan. I and my colleague, the Governor for Garissa, are very happy because of this initiative. And I want to appreciate the donor community for really being supportive to ensure that this document has properly been generated. And today we are seated here to launch it. We will be very supportive. We will offer the necessary support. Your Excellency, I think the only small impediment is how we are going to implement it down there at our counties or communities. there is an element of dissatisfaction from the ground, the professionals, the key stakeholders. I think when we go ahead to implement the programs, there is need actually for us to continue sensitizing and also capacity building the people so that they understand the document properly. Because the governors and the other leaders are put in a very awkward situation to look like we are bringing a document that has other negative issues inside to them. And that is not basically what this document entails. It has all that, to me, is very important for our communities. But we need to be very critical as we implement the document, the programs, through the necessary structures, majorly the KCDEP and the GSDEP, which to me are the most established institutions on the ground to implement this particular document. I think basically that's what I would say for today, because the program was meant to be very short. Thank you, Your Excellency.
I totally agree with you, Governor. Pigia Governor Makofi. I'd like to invite the Governor of Garissa County, Honorable Natif Jama, who is also hosting the highest number of the refugees in our country.
Thank you. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, the Deputy President, UN High Commissioner, and all protocols observed, I'm equally honored to be part of this very, very important activity today. Your Excellency, as we look forward to the launch and implementation of the Shirika plan, we believe that this is the way to give decent and honorable integration for the refugee communities which have been within us for many years, as was rightly stated. However, Your Excellency, as was rightly said by my colleague, Governor Turkana, the ground wants to be clear on how the host community, which has indeed sacrificed for many, many years, how they will be compensated, how they will benefit from this plan. Your Excellency, as an example, in the case of Garissa County, which has held the largest number of refugees in our country for the last 30 plus years. Let me just give very quickly, Your Excellency, two examples. One example, for instance, the road between Garissa to Dadaab, a 100-kilometer stretch, was largely used by WFP for transporting foods to Dadaab. Your Excellency, that Maram Road has not had any meaningful attention in terms of repairing, to the extent that today is impossible. If that has not happened in the last 33 years, Your Excellency, we hope and pray that now it will get us some serious attention under this plan, so that the people at the host community can feel that the plan indeed is a way of mitigating that huge sacrifice. Another quick one, Your Excellency, the serious deforestation that has occurred in our areas, particularly in the Dadaab and Hagarder refugee camps, Your Excellency, courtesy of the refugees cutting our mega forests for firewood, Your Excellency, has not got any proper attention in the past 3 years. We hope and pray that as we now look forward to the launch of this and implementation of this plan, we hope that the same will be looked into seriously, so that we can quickly get some alternative fuel for the refugees, so that they do not continue cutting our mega forests. Your Excellency, those are some of the examples in which today our people on the ground are looking forward from, as host communities, to get some compensation for the many and huge sacrifices that have given out to the refugees for the last 30 plus years. I'm, of course, honored once again to be part of this very important initiative, which we welcome. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Governor, for those very true remarks. I'd like to take this opportunity, Your Excellency. First, let me, before I invite the UN High Commissioner, I'd like to thank the ambassadors who are here and representatives of different governments and the refugee donor group, if they may just stand and for recognition. Thank you very much. I'll not be able to read all their names, but we want to thank them for being here. Thank you very much. I'd like to also recognize the staff in our ministry, especially the Department of Refugee Affairs, led by Mr. Buruko. You may all stand to be recognized because they are the ones who have done this very good job. Your Excellency, thank you very much. I'd like to also appreciate in a special way the PS, the immediate former PS for Immigration and Citizen Services, Professor Julius Bitok, for the leadership he provided throughout this process. Thank you very much, Prof. And to recognize the new PS in the Department of Immigration and Citizen Services, Dr. Richard Kipsang Belio, who is here. Thank you very much for your presence here. I'd like to recognize also my colleagues. First, let me recognize the IG. Thank you very much. The IG is here because security is a very important component of the well-being of refugees in this country. And also we have in our midst my colleagues in the cabinet, led by, if you may all stand, I just recognize you today. We are unable to speak today. Thank you very much. We have Honorable Aden Duale, the CS Health, who is present here. Thank you very much, and who is also from the host community. We have Honorable Beatrice Askul, who is the Minister for East Africa, and she is also from the host community. Thank you very much for being here. We have our CS Mudoni Alice Waome, who is also the CS for housing, lands and housing and public works. Thank you very much for being here. We have our CS for environment, CS and forestry, CS Beatrice Barasa Mlongo. Thank you very much for being here. Not Beatrice, Deborah. I am still in my mind with the Beatrice. And then our able Attorney General, Dorcas Oduor. Thank you very much for being here. It's now my pleasure to invite the UN High Commissioner, Mr. Filippo Grande, who has come all the way from Geneva to be here with us. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary, and thank you for being here, Mr. President and Mr. Deputy President, Cabinet Secretaries, Principal Secretaries, Governors, dear ambassadors, colleagues and friends, all protocol observed. It is a real privilege to be with you today to celebrate the launch of the Shirika plan. It is truly a landmark moment for refugees in Kenya and for the communities that host them. Kenya, Mr. President, is showing the world that a story of cooperation, inclusion, and hope is not only possible, but also necessary and of advantage to all. Let me start by paying tribute to the people of Kenya, the authors of that story, and recognize your generosity in hosting refugees and asylum seekers in your communities, in Garissa and Turkana counties, especially as we heard, but also in the rest of the country, many of them for decades. I am well aware that it has not been easy. I know that all of you, Kenyans and refugees alike, have gone through some difficult times. But your hospitality, amidst all challenges, has never failed, even when it would have been easier to shut the door on refugees, like many other countries are doing, or when the world's attention and necessary support were focused elsewhere. Allow me to also add my voice to that of others and thank you personally, very personally, President Ruto, for your leadership and resolve, as well as the entire government of Kenya, including at regional and local level, for believing in the potential of refugees to contribute to Kenyan communities, economically, socially, culturally, and in strengthening peace and understanding. Today is a day to celebrate. The launch of the Shirika plan is an important achievement, a model, surely, for many in Africa and beyond. It is the result of your collective, sustained efforts. But today is not the end of the road. Rather, it is the beginning of a new journey, with much work still ahead of us. And let me assure you that my organization, UNHCR, with the rest of the UN system, will continue to support the government of Kenya as it implements the plan. This plan reflects very commendably the core of the Global Compact on Refugees, which the UN General Assembly adopted in 2018. It promotes the notion of inclusion of refugees, makes it clear that host community need, as we heard very clearly from the governors today, equal support, and spells out that addressing refugee situations requires the engagement of all of society and of all of government to be successful. All of this is at the heart of the Shirika plan, which, by the way, as its very name clearly implies, requires cooperation. Cooperation and support for local government and municipalities in particular. Those on the front lines of this innovative solution, who will require resources to strengthen health systems, clinics and hospitals, to serve refugees and Kenyans alike. Cooperation and support to integrate former refugee schools and bring them fully into the national educational system. Support for financial inclusion, to open new market and investment opportunities, or for digital inclusion, to spur refugee self-reliance and invigorate local economies. And we heard about the challenges related to the environment as well. In a word, to turn refugee hosting areas into full-fledged settlements and robust economic hubs that will benefit all who live there and that will bring stability. But we must be clear, and you were very clear the first time we spoke about this, Mr. President, several years ago. The Kenyan government cannot do it alone. Let me recall the preamble of the 1951 Refugee Convention. It clearly spells out that refugees are an international responsibility, not one of the host government alone. And by the way, other solutions, including voluntary repatriation to their countries and resettlement to third countries, remain crucial and need support. Since its inception, the Shirika plan has gained the endorsement and concrete support of many donor partners. States, many represented here through the Refugee Donor Group, financial institutions, private organizations. I thank them and wish to appeal to them today. Please continue to provide generous financing to this important initiative. This is a worrying time. We see deep cuts to humanitarian and development budgets worldwide, sometimes to boost domestic spending on defense and security. Please, let us not lose sight of the fact that initiatives like the Shirika plan not only aim at putting an end to long-standing humanitarian crises, they also have a crucial stabilizing effect. Ultimately, they contribute to national, regional, and global security as well, and this seems to me especially important at this difficult time also for the region. And let me add here that I am also very grateful to the UN resident coordinator, the UN country team and NGO partners in Kenya for having made the Shirika plan a centerpiece of their work. Shirika recognizes that inclusion is a game changer that will accelerate the shift away from dependency and on humanitarian aid and towards greater self-reliance. That is an objective that we all share. We have the chance to make it a reality. Let's not miss this opportunity. Once again, I would like to thank and congratulate you and your government, Mr. President, on the launch of Shirika and reaffirm the United Nations and UNHCR's commitment to walk this journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the High Commissioner. Your Excellency, we also have the presence of the private sector here, and if I may request them to stand. I see the representation from Safaricom, KCB, Equity, and any other private sector representative here. Thank you very much for coming. A round of applause for them. These are very important players in the refugee sector in the subject of inclusion. We also have representatives of the non-governmental organizations and humanitarian organizations working with governments and the refugees. If they are here, please, I know they are. You may stand. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, before I invite His Excellency, and we have also our PS, I almost forgot the PS for Internal Security and National Administration, Raymond Omolo, thank you, and other senior government officials who are here. Your Excellency, before I invite His Excellency, the Deputy President, let me say just a few things. One is that I appreciate the work that was done before I joined this ministry, as was led then by the Deputy President and PS Bitok in the relevant department to put together this Shirika plan under your direction, Your Excellency. And when I came to office, I was handed over this assignment, and we agreed that it had been a discussion for far too long. It was necessary for us to accelerate the launching of this plan. Your Excellency, we held various consultative meetings with the donor community, with also the private sector. I met the private sector, but also I met the members of parliament and the leaders from the two counties, and I appreciate their input. And as a result, we managed to reduce the size of the document to half of it, to about 40 pages. Part of the complaint, and I have been a practitioner in this sector, although for a short time, part of the complaint in the local community across our country is that, Your Excellency, there was a feeling, and one quote that came from Turkana County was that there was a feeling at some point that the refugees were living a better life than the local community. And these persistent calls for equalizing the two communities, living side by side, sometimes feeling like the refugees had more food than them, they had better living conditions than them. The Shirika plan, it is important for Kenyans to know that Shirika plan is not a UNHCR plan. It is not a donor community plan. It is the plan for the government of Kenya. It is our own plan to make sure that we are bringing our citizens who are living side by side with refugees to a same level by integrating them and ensuring that we take advantage of the opportunities that comes with that integration for social, economic, and cultural inclusion. It is important, Your Excellency the President, because there are people out there who are running because of the misinformation. Some will say that this plan is intended to lead to political inclusion. It's important for them to know that this has nothing to do with whether or not refugees can become citizens of Kenya. Citizenship for the Republic of Kenya is defined by law and the Constitution. It has nothing to do with how we manage our refugees. The reality is that the refugees have been in this country since independence. But the highest number of refugees came to this country in 1992. We have people who have been in this country, born and bred in this country, for over 33 years calling Kenya home, and they live in these refugee camps. Already, as we speak, we have done integration on matters of for health. We have done integration in areas that relate to education. We've done integration in financial inclusion. And we know that some banks, including Equity Bank, were among the first banks to go to do business within the refugee camp. So therefore, we are upscaling this process by ensuring that every development that goes on in the refugee camp, we take care of the local community. That is why this document speaks to environmental protection, because there's a complaint from the locals about environmental protection. It speaks to infrastructure, roads, the same way the governor has spoken about roads, to make sure that the development of infrastructure is done. It speaks about health facilities, to make sure that the health facilities that refugees access are equal to the ones that the citizens access, because sometimes there was a feeling that the local community are not accessing equal health care in the region. Therefore, Shirika plan, for avoidance of doubt, is our plan, and it's a very beautiful plan. If fully implemented, Your Excellency, it will make sure that these areas that are hosting the refugees are developed to the level that is required and that is decent for every human being. Your Excellency, I want to thank the development partners, the UNHCR, for working with us. And this plan is not meant to exit the development partners and humanitarian players from the work they do. It is moving what they have been doing from humanitarian to development approach. And through this development approach, there will be meaningful and sustainable development in the country, but also the refugees will be properly utilized, and their potential is going to be properly utilized. Your Excellency, I thank His Excellency the Deputy President for leading this process before. For avoidance of doubt, the Deputy President was my teacher, and one of the subjects he taught me was international humanitarian law. And international humanitarian law includes refugee law. And he taught me very well, Your Excellency, and I'm glad that I have the opportunity to continue the work that he had started, and it's now my greatest honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency Kithure Kindiki, the Deputy President of the Republic, to make a few remarks, and invite you, Your Excellency, to make your remarks. Welcome you, Deputy President.
Thank you. Thank you. Your Excellency, President William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya. All the other dignitaries present, all protocols observed. Your Excellency, before I invite you, let me make a disclaimer that this wonderful document that we are launching today was started by my predecessor at Harambee House. So it is not my invention. I found it there, made some input to it together with a team, Professor Bitok and others, and we handed it over to the current Interior Minister. So I thought I should clarify as a sign of intellectual and academic honesty that it is not my invention. Your Excellency, I want to make two remarks before I invite you. The first is that this event provides firm evidence of Kenya's commitment to its obligations under national and international law regarding the protection of refugees as contained in the various instruments applicable to Kenya, including the 1951 UN Convention relating to the status of refugees and its protocol of 1967, the OAU Convention of 1969 governing specific aspects relating to refugee problems in Africa, the Constitution of Kenya and the Refugees Acts and the regulations made thereunder. This event is a testament that Kenya is committed to fulfilling its obligations under international law and the law of our country. Secondly and lastly, Your Excellency, is to also say that this event and the launch of this document speaks to a significant and important paradigm shift in several ways. First, a shift from short-term temporary solutions to the enforcement of the rights of people who find themselves away from their home, not because of their own liking, but because of factors that have compelled them to flee for their safety and for their rights and liberty. So it's a paradigm shift from that temporary solution or interventions approach to durable solutions as required by international law and our Constitution, where we are offering durable solutions. It is also a paradigm shift, Your Excellency, from burden shifting to burden sharing. Because as the High Commissioner for Refugees, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees has correctly stated, the issue of refugees is a global problem. It's not a problem of the country of origin of these people or the host country or the donor countries. It is a collective issue of humanity. And therefore, this launch affirms the principle of burden sharing as opposed to burden shifting and shifting blames and responsibilities to different people. It's also a paradigm shift, Your Excellency, in the sense that this event cements the principle that refugees are not necessarily a problem. They are just people who could have experienced problems, but they are not a problem. Many countries have been built with the inputs and ideas of people who necessarily did not originate from those countries. Many inventions, many ideas that have shaped certain societies have been developed by people who have found themselves in other countries other than the countries they were born. And lastly, Your Excellency, this is a paradigm shift in the sense that all of us gathered here, the host country, the donor countries, the United Nations family, the host communities where these refugees are, as represented here by the governors from those counties, we are now moving towards consolidating all our interests, all those role players, our interests are converging, that we can have a win-win situation where the government of Kenya honors its obligations under international and local law. The host communities get benefits as defined in this plan. The donor communities also are able to channel resources to durable solutions. And therefore, this is a win-win situation for all of us. And going forward, therefore, the integration of refugees with those communities, sharing services, sharing the same quality of life that is dignifying for host communities and the refugees is a game changer, and I hope that this will be a good case study of how refugee hosting countries can provide durable solutions, especially in the form of local integration, in unique cases like ours, where resettlement to third countries or voluntary repatriation is not feasible. I'll stop there, Your Excellency, because our Deputy President should not speak for too long, and also because I can see in this audience people who are much more well-versed with this subject than myself, both as practitioners, but also academics, including Your Excellency, your National Security Advisor, Dr. Monica Juma. Is one of the foremost authorities, perhaps maybe better than myself, so I will not risk contradicting the Academy. With those many remarks, I request that we be upstanding as we invite His Excellency President William Ruto to come and address us. Welcome, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Please, let's take our seats. Thank you. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to join you for this official launch of Shirika Plan. This historic event marks a transformative step in Kenya's long history and along the path of humanitarian leadership. And as we advance our capacity to deliver effective, responsive, and durable solutions to give relief and protect the dignity of refugees and asylum seekers. Kenya is a generous and hospitable society. As a tradition, we warmly welcome all visitors, understanding that they arrive in our land by different routes for different reasons. Solidarity with people fleeing their threats to life and freedom is a long-standing tradition that aligns with our society's obligation to receive all people with consideration and empathy. It is not a coincidence, therefore, that our nation hosts more than 800,000 forcibly displaced persons, mostly from East and the Horn of Africa and the Great Lakes region. Even as we observe with concern that global displacement of persons is approaching unprecedented levels, we also clearly appreciate that traditional humanitarian-only approaches are no longer sufficient. Crises have become more acute, protracted, complex, and dynamic. Resources, on the other hand, have declined, and the possibility of resettlement remains elusive. Under these challenging conditions, we must adopt a development-oriented model anchored in sustainability, inclusion, and resilience in order to continue to uphold the safety and dignity of displaced persons and to make them in some way to feel at home. Accordingly, the Shirika Plan is our bold, homegrown solution which amplifies the African Union's call for African solutions not only to Africa's problems, but also global challenges as well. As was said here ably by the Minister and by the Deputy President, we can confidently say this is a Kenyan invention. We have been a host country for 30 plus years, and in the 30 years, we've come to understand this challenge in a better way. We've come to appreciate refugees better, and we have come to understand that the problem is not the refugee, the problem could be elsewhere. And therefore, this became acutely clear to me in 2016, I think, when I went to Kakuma for a development tour, then as Deputy President. And in the process of the meeting, and I was with the Member of Parliament, I think that time, Daniel Nanok. In the process of the meeting, there was a presentation by one of the students from the local school. And in the presentation, this pupil was asking me as Deputy President whether I could facilitate them to be a refugee. And the reason is that the school in the refugee camp was better than the school that this pupil was attending. And it came to me as a sharp realization that there was a problem. And it is then that we began as Government of Kenya to rethink the relationship between refugees and the host communities. Because of the difference in terms of access to health, access to education, access to social services, the stark difference between the host communities and the refugees, there was an emerging tension between the host communities and the refugees. And therefore, it became necessary for us to rethink the way the host communities were relating to the refugees, and the need to harmonize that relationship by harmonizing the conditions that the refugees lived in with the conditions that the host communities were experiencing. And this plan is a response by the Government of Kenya on how we can translate refugees and the host community's relationship into a win-win relationship, a one that benefits the host community and recognizes the host community's solidarity with the refugees, the host community's sharing of their space with the refugees, but also working in a manner that the social and other facilities that were available to the refugees also should be made available to the host communities. The plan's strategy to transform refugee camps into integrated settlements gives inclusion a new expression by promoting the creation of opportunity in a manner that intentionally benefits refugees and host communities in the same way. In so doing, it recognizes the indispensable role of host communities, a number of which have provided exemplary compassion, patiently and generously extended hospitality for over 35 years, and this plan therefore places the host communities at the heart of this refugee plan. Because minus the host communities, it becomes realistically impossible for us as a government to discharge our international obligation to refugees. This plan also sets out the government strategy to guide reform to policy and regulatory frameworks, including the Refugee Act of 2021, the adoption of the Comprehensive Refugee Response Framework, the inclusion of refugees in county development plans, and their integration into public education, healthcare, and financial systems. It became obvious to us that containing refugees in camps, people who could, many of them could possibly have ideas, they are knowledgeable, people who could deploy their energy, expertise, and resource into the development of the country was not the best way to relate with the refugees. And therefore, it became necessary for us to rethink the place of refugees in our society and contextualize it with host communities. As I speak to you, more than 70,000 refugees are enrolled for universal health coverage under the Social Health Insurance Fund, while IDs for refugees are recognized for refugees to be part of our financial system, and to thank the private sector, including our banks, partners from that region, and I must commend them and the leadership in those areas for making it possible for us to work as government in a manner that carries on board the thoughts, the concerns of host communities and the county governments in those areas. The concerns that have been raised are legitimate because these are concerns that have been experienced over many years. This plan attempts to respond to some of the concerns the communities have been experiencing or have raised over the years. It was untenable to continue the relationship the way it was, and therefore this plan attempts to rethink. And we think this plan is not just a Kenyan invention. Once we roll out with the support of all the partners that have been working with us, including the international community, and I'm very happy Filippo is here to put his sign of approval from the UN community, that we could look at this template as being the relationship going into the future with host communities and refugees, not just in Kenya, not just in our region, but also globally. This is not to say that we must make it, the norm for people to export others from their countries as refugees. I think that's not what we are saying. And in fact, as a country, we are deploying all the assets that we have to contain instability in different parts of our region. Just this morning, I have sent the Honorable Raila Odinga, our former Prime Minister, to South Sudan because there is a situation that could lead to export of more refugees from that country unless it is contained. We are engaged currently on the situation in DRC. We have a robust conversation on containing the situation in Sudan. So we are doing what we can as Kenya, working with partners and regional mechanisms to see to it that we contain situations that could lead to people seeking asylum and leaving their countries because of instability and other challenges that countries face. So we are actively making sure that we do what we can to make sure that we have less and less refugees and asylum seekers by participating in interventions that help countries manage their affairs better. I must also say that as champion of the Africa Union reform, of our Africa Union family, we are also looking at how we can better stabilize our region, how we can deploy resources in our continent to stabilize this continent, because unless we stabilize this continent, any meaningful activity, any progress is undermined, and we become a place of displaced people and refugees and asylum seekers. And we are currently looking at our peace and security architecture of the Africa Union so that we can find a link and connection to the international community. And I'm very happy that we've already made the first step, that Africa Union peace initiatives will now be funded as agreed by the UN by United Nations assessed contribution, making Africa Union interventions better resourced for us to take, better control of interventions in our region, rather than waiting long for some of the UN interventions to come into place. So, apart from thinking about the refugees we have and how we can integrate them into the development of our country, we are also actively working on how to make sure that we reduce on people seeking asylum where we can, and people being exported as refugees. As you can see, we are neither short of ideas, commitment, or willingness to do the work needed to actualize this critical vision. For this reason, the Shirika plan, whose development entailed extensive multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder consultations, led by county governments, and that is why they've already expressed themselves and some of the issues they raised, and also refugee-led organizations, UN agencies, development partners, and the civil society, is a strategy which reflects the contribution of a broad spectrum of actors. It clearly and boldly reflects our commitment to the Global Compact on Refugees, as well as the constitutional mandate to observe and implement measures that not only fulfill but also expand inclusion, equity, equality, social justice, non-discrimination, and access to equal opportunity in our shared prosperity. When we declare that our national transformation agenda shall leave no one behind, we mean every word of it. To guarantee the best chance of fully actualizing the promise of Shirika, I call on our partners in development and humanitarian response, international financial institutions, and other organizations to enhance their position and contribution to our partnership in order to renew the way we transform solidarity by investing in sustainable, scalable, and inclusive solutions. I wish to appreciate all our partners because the long journey we have walked together has not been easy. Thank you for your consistency and readiness to do the good work. In a special way, I thank the counties of Turkana and Garissa, through their leadership present here, for their enduring solidarity and pragmatic leadership. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and your teams. The Shirika plan now gives us a framework to collaborate more ambitiously and pursue historic achievements that will guarantee hope and dignity for refugees and give host communities due recognition. Let us walk this road assured that together we will transform Kenya's refugees and host communities from sites of sorrow and despair into thriving and prosperous hubs of opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, I now declare the Shirika plan officially launched, and I thank you very much for your attention, and God bless you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. A round of applause for His Excellency one more time. With your permission, Your Excellency, I'll request that we hand over the Shirika plan to a few individuals. May I request that we take our seats, please, as we leave His Excellency on the podium. And first to receive a copy of the Shirika plan is His Excellency, the Deputy President. If we can have the PS to hand over to His Excellency to hand over a copy to the Deputy President. The next copy will be handed over to the CS Interior. Another copy to the High Commissioner UNHCR. Another copy to the Chair Donor Group. A copy to the Co-Chair for the Donor Group. And one more copy to the Commissioner Refugee, and that is Mr. Burugu. We'll also have a copy each for the governors present. Governor Turkana and Governor Garissa. Your Excellency, sir, with your permission, after that we'll seek, we can have one for the PS. PS, Bellew is already there. So, and one for His Excellency. Your Excellency, before you leave, just a quick indulgence for a photo opportunity, kindly. So let's have His Excellency, the Deputy President, to join the President, together with the UNHCR High Commissioner. CS is present, the Chair, Refugee, and the two governors present, please. So the next vote, once that is done, we'll request that the CSs exit except the CS Interior, and we'll invite all ambassadors present. CSs, we may kindly retreat. All ambassadors, kindly, if we may now just present ourselves. And all ambassadors can exit. Then we'll the last exposure, Shirikisha Joint Secretariat. Shirika Joint Secretariat as the last photo. After which we'll then finish with the anthem as I guide you. Thank you, Your Excellency. And with that now, I'll request that we all be upstanding as we are going to finish with the national anthem. the national anthem.